we were all at that point where we were desperate enough that we needed a change.
Society does not tell you, or people don't teach you, that there is a correct way of breathing.
Hi, Yahari and Karen and Caitlin. Thanks for coming to do this testimony. Do you want to say something about what drew you to this Buteyko method?
At the time, I really needed a lot of help with a lot of the mental symptoms I was having.
Mm-hmm.
I was having a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, and since then, it's been about a year, I believe, almost about a year. In December, it will be a year since we've been practicing. But at that time, I was having low energy. I couldn't get up in the mornings. A lot of mental stuff, the anxiety.
Did you know you had any breathing problems?
No, it didn't occur to me. No.
And so how did you find out about this?
It started on YouTube. I started doing exercises on YouTube. And then I found a video of you. And it was funny because I started practicing on my own. And I was reviewing some of the notes that I took at the time. And every time I did one of those pauses from the YouTube videos, I realized that my CP was getting lower from the notes that I was taking. And when I started the classes with you, I could see the difference. I can see that something was happening and my pauses were growing, even in that short period of a week.
And how were your symptoms?
The symptoms, like the reactions that I was having?
Yeah, did it the symptoms immediately, or did it take time? Or
it took time, but it really helped immediately help get rid of like the anxiety and a lot of the mental stuff. I could get rid of them with your help, like with doing the pauses and doing the walking steps, like following the instructions. It would alleviate the symptoms right away.
Temporarily, though.
Yeah. It took time to actually come out of it, but yes, temporarily, yes, it would come off.
Okay, great.
One thing I wanted to say is that I've noticed a huge difference in my skin. Just the amount, the texture, and the way, like before, when I would shave, I would have to be so careful because I would have so many cuts everywhere when I was shaving. And now I can shave very, very quickly and I don't cut. And if I did get hurt or get cut, it does not the same amount of bleeding. I've noticed a massive difference on my skin texture.
It's a lot stronger, yeah, and elastic.
I think the same thing with, I was gonna say with my nails, like my entire life, I always had really weak brittle nails. For the first time in my life, I could let my nails grow out because they were actually strong enough for me to have them.
So, Caitlin, why did you get involved with this? What brought you?
Well, really, it was Karen. She was the one that wanted us to do this as a family, and she had mentioned it was breathing issues. It wasn't something we realized we were struggling with. At the time, I would say my biggest issue was every morning I would wake up with a congested sinus, no matter the time of year. It was something that would happen all the time. And I wasn't until recently that I feel like I really made it my own and that I saw a difference, if I'm being entirely honest. Because about 2 months ago, I started to have a really bad depression, and that's when I took the practice a little bit more seriously, and I saw a huge difference.
Okay. So how did you actually manage to affect your depression? What did you do? You practiced more consistently? You got your numbers up? What did you do?
I had to be doing steps. I did not want to be doing sitting pauses. I wouldn't convince myself. I felt like my mind was fighting me. But if I would do the steps, I would actually do it continuously and more of a routine if I did it in that way. And my depression went away and I was able to manage my energy a lot better.
Great. Okay. Well, there's a result, isn't there? I mean, that's the thing is it works. That's the beauty of this. So what about Yahari?
I think for me, I had been dealing with a lot for a very long time with depression and anxiety. And I think for a time, it was really weird because I would go into these like really deep depressive episodes and then I would have so much energy and I would be full of life and I loved every second of, and then I would crash and I would be so depressed and had no motivation. I had so much brain fog and it would just be all the time like super happy, super low, super happy, super low. And it would get very tiring and I didn't want to do anything most of the time. I wanted to do stuff, but I just didn't have the energy to do it. And then right before I took the class for Vertigo, I developed like asthma and it started getting really bad and I couldn't breathe. I was having a lot of like chest pain. So that was really scary. And I think the Buteyko actually provoked it more to try and get rid of what it was, but I have not had any asthma symptoms in a few months now.
What would you say your control pause was when you started?
It could be anywhere between like 15 to 17, maybe. I don't think it was higher than that.
Yeah, that's quite typical for asthma.
I know that for sometimes it would be really, really low because I would start getting anxiety because my asthma was starting to get provoked when I would start doing pauses. That was a tough time, but they did help me. They were like, just keep doing it, just keep doing it. And then you helped a lot too, like motivating me to just keep doing it and go through the symptoms because it did help. It helped a lot, especially with my depression. It helped treat it and I was able to kind of control it a little bit better, like not let it get as far as it had in the past. And I was able to recognize that I was getting really low or I was getting really high on the
the swing.
Yeah, the swing. And when I start feeling it, I would do pauses and I could start feeling myself kind of balanced out a little better.
Okay.
I've always struggled with my allergies, especially toward like, for example, like Bath and Body Works, I cannot smell their perfumes, their lotions, the candles. And before it would always come up and it would cause like a migraine. And now it still bothers me. And something that I'm working on with my pauses, but it does not cause a migraine and it doesn't cause that discomfort that it used to. It would be kind of painful, like around my sinuses area. So that has been really helpful with my pauses. That it has helped it a lot.
What would you say your control pause is now?
On a really good day, I can get to 45.
Oh, okay.
Really good
your maximum pause?
It could be anywhere between like 75 to 85.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how would you describe your quality of life now compared to what it was?
Oh, it's a lot better. It also helps with my anger because I'm able to talk to my sisters and my family and I don't get triggered as easily as I did before. So I'm able to have better relationships with my siblings and like my mom and my dad. I actually listen to them because it's not really affecting me. So it shouldn't make me mad or upset. So, but my quality of life is better. I don't have asthma anymore. I sleep a lot better. I feel better overall with my energy and how I'm distributing it throughout the day. I feel more balanced. I think that's the best way to describe it.
You don't get those mood swings anymore.
Yeah. Very, very rare, but I can identify it when it's coming.
Yeah. Well, that's quite big, isn't it?
One of the biggest things I would say, I've always had depression, but exactly a year ago, I had anxiety for the first time. So out of control that my mind was like playing tricks on me. It was very severe. I do feel that if I had not done this breathing class, I don't think I knew that if I didn't do something, I was gonna have to be medicated or something. So doing this definitely got rid of whatever was happening with my mind. And something else I wanted to say that I couldn't eat a lot of food before. So my diet was very, very restricted. I had a lot of severe allergies. I couldn't have any dairy or any meat, a lot of nuts and fruits. I was very restricted. And now I eat everything and anything I want, except for alcohol. I have not managed to be able to drink alcohol.
Can't drink alcohol. Well, that's okay. But I mean, the thing is, this is a big improvement. You're not so limited. I mean, that's the point. So what was your control pause when you started?
I was looking at, I think it was around 18 to 20.
And what would you say it is now?
I think on an average, it goes between 45 to 50, something like that.
So it's a lot better. So you feel,
Yeah.
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 Quality of life now. How would you describe your quality of life on the whole now?
It's so different. Before, it would take me like an hour to get out of my bed. And now I can get out of bed. Sometimes I sleep very little and I have a lot of energy and I can eat whatever I want. I would have to avoid social situations because I didn't know what kind of food would be there. Now I can go and I can eat, and I know when I ate something that probably wasn't the greatest, and I just do pauses and it goes away, whatever symptom I may be having.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm having allergies or sinus, I just do symptoms and then, I just do pauses and the symptoms go away.
Yeah.
It's a completely different quality of life. I'm able to socialize more.
Great. And how about you, Caitlin? What's your quality of life? Well, tell me what your start control pause was.
I don't think I wrote it down, but I think it might have been around 17 to 20.
Hmm.
And I think now it fluctuates between 35 to 45.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest change for me was definitely the change in energy and like being able to manage my life a lot better, get the responsibilities that I have, get them done, certain tasks that would have been really difficult before. I also felt that the advanced class helped a lot. A lot of those mental exercises help with the way that you view everyday life. I also appreciate this breathing technique because you're a lot more aware of how you're breathing when you're starting to breathe improperly. So you're a lot more aware of how you're actually feeling, but also when you conversate with others, you're allowed to be a little bit more present because you're aware of your body is also communicating with you by how it's breathing.
Yeah. You said the advanced work was really helpful in the way you interact in the world. Have you got any kind of examples of that? Would you say your relationship with your family is easier? Has that helped, or working situation is easier to manage?
I think specifically with conflicts, even within your relationships, when there is conflicts, sometimes we take things very personal, but understanding that nothing is actually happening and just having a more balanced view of conflicts.
Well, it's okay to disagree, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't have to think the same way, and also we don't have to expect other people to change.
Yeah, I also really liked the advanced class because I felt that one of the biggest things that was working against me whenever I did start retaking was my mind. And then once I was able to have better control of my attention, I was able to improve my pauses.
Yeah, it does help with pauses. That's true. I find that if I do the advanced exercise while I'm doing pauses, it helps a lot, particularly if I'm having difficulty. Karen, you said something about how the advanced work could help you with your work, because your work's quite, you've got to be very present and very still.
Yeah. I think that it's helped me in a lot of aspects of work. For example, I used to have a lot of anxiety answering the phone because I didn't want to. And now I'm able to pick up the phone and answer it and not necessarily have my mind play tricks on what this person's going to tell me, but just kind of just answer the phone. Nothing's going to happen. That it's helped with my anxiety. Also, when I am working, we all work doing the same thing. So we're constantly with each other, and it's helped a lot. Our relationship and my relationship with my clients. While I am working, I am able to do some of the exercises for the advanced class. And that has helped me tremendously. Like the exercises I learned at the beginning and the advanced, I was thinking about how different it is now because before I would only be able to see like 2, 3 people a day and I was completely exhausted. And now I can see maybe 6 people and I still have energy. So it's made a huge difference in my job.
Sure. Yeah, that is a big difference. And how about you, Yeheri? What's your sense of the advanced training and how it's helped you?
I think it has been really vital for me. If I'm being completely honest, I am going through a cleanse right now, a mental cleanse. I think yesterday was the peak of it, and doing the exercises, it really, really helped because now, like, tell them how I'm feeling, tell them what's going on with me so that they are aware. It really does help because like your mind plays games and you can kind of control like where you're gonna take it. And I think before I didn't know how to do that, that it would just unravel different stories and scenarios and it would just get out of hand for me. So it's been really, really helpful. Like today has been a much, much better day. And I'm more clear-minded. To my clients too, it has been helpful because again, I don't take what they say kind of like to heart. I kind of just brush it off because it doesn't affect me. And I would also feel the same where if I do like 3 clients, 4 clients, I would have no energy. Like I just felt like I was giving all my energy away constantly. Now I don't feel that way anymore. So it has helped my relationship with work, with my sisters, with my clients, and just kind of have a better, like carefree perspective of life, more present. Like tomorrow still doesn't exist. So I'm like trying to be more present today and just enjoy it. So that has been very helpful.
Yeah, because there is nothing else.
Yeah. That was a really hard concept for me to wrap my brain around. I couldn't understand that before. Like I would always be worried about tomorrow and what I'm gonna do tomorrow and all the things I have to do tomorrow. And now I'm just like, well, I'll get to it tomorrow, you know. Like I'll worry about it then. Today I'm just gonna do what I have to do today.
You do as much as you can, and then when you run out of steam, that's it. You stop.
It definitely did take away a lot of my what is it called when I was like really picky?
OCD.
My OCD. I was very OCD before, and now I'm just like, oh, I don't care. And I was like, I don't care. And it shows a lot, and I notice it that I just don't care anymore. It doesn't have to be perfect. It is what it is. It's just,
I'd say you don't mind so much, or you're unconcerned. You're more unconcerned.
Unconcerned is the right word.
Yeah, because I mean, the thing of not caring, we do care. That's the thing. But it's just that there's only so much one can do for one's best at any one time. That's it. That's what you've got today.
The OCD for her, it really stopped her from doing a lot.
Yeah.
Well, it's very demanding.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I would, like, for example, I would do my work and I'm like, it's not good enough. I would mess up a tiny bit. It would ruin my entire day. We were actually just talking about like a few days ago that before we would use that language a lot, like, oh, like this ruined my day. Little things like that. We can't let it.
It's perfect.
Yeah, we can't let it take that much power.
But your work is very precise.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, you're working on people, on their skin.
Mm-hmm.
You're painting it, is that right?
We're grabbing an eyelash that's I made it of a material that feels and looks like a natural one, and attaching it onto one individual natural eyelash.
Right.
So it can take like 3 hours.
What, to do one?
One full set, yeah.
3 hours to do one full set of lashes.
On one person.
That's amazing. Do you ever get to take a break, or do you just do it for 3 hours on the trot?
Just 3 hours straight.
How can you do 6 people in a day?
Because it's not all the time we're doing one full. Like sometimes it's just partial.
My goodness, what detailed work that is. It's no wonder you become obsessive.
Yeah, it was really bad. But I actually enjoy my job now. I don't see it the way I used to see it. It changed my perspective like it has with a lot of things in my life. So I am really grateful to the Buteyko method for that.
Brilliant.
This is a perfect example of what you were asking me earlier. This interview before, it would have given me anxiety thinking about what am I gonna say? What is she gonna ask me? I feel like I would have probably rehearsed it in my head and then I would have gotten stuck trying to express to you. But you just learn to let it go and deal with it when it's happening.
Yeah.
That's probably where we've seen the biggest difference within our family. We get along so much better than before.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun, yeah. They're not sort of nagging
We're-
each other, asking each other to be different, or you don't have to actually put up with someone who's obsessive anymore.
when one of us isn't feeling well and we're having symptoms or just we're like they have a low CP too. It's like, we're like, well, they'll be back to normal soon. Go do your pauses, then come back. Go do your pauses and then come talk to us again. And we will go and do our pauses and then come back. And it would be we're like, oh, we're fine now.
Yeah, fine now. Yeah, it's all over.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how it works.
I do mostly belly pumps every morning, and I have been very consistent about it now. And I noticed a lot of inflammation has gone down in my stomach area and just kind of overall, like where I would hold my inflammation. So that has been very helpful.
I noticed that if I do my belly pumps, I won't be dealing with inflammation or bloating throughout the day if I could just get them done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what about walking? Do you find walking much easier? Can you go further, or?
Yeah, I think that I could definitely walk more. Especially, I've noticed that when we have gone dancing, I can dance a lot more than before.
Oh,
Shoot.
how about Caitlin?
Well, I also would struggle a lot with bloating before, and it's a lot more comfortable now and can eat fine. But yeah, I had something that I was going to say, but I forgot.
What about dancing? Do you do dancing?
Yeah, yeah. I think I also, and when I first started, actually, when I first started doing Mateko, before I even took the intermediate, and before I was even introduced to steps, I would do some dance steps and I would hold my breath because I needed something a little bit more interactive. That's actually something that I really like about doing the intermediate exercises, is that it keeps your mind a little bit more preoccupied on days where you're struggling to stay still.
Yeah. I think doing maximum pauses while you're dancing is a great idea.
It's definitely a challenge. I know I would be doing some damage if I hadn't learned properly how to breathe.
Because I know that we've gone dancing and she'll tell me later, oh, I've noticed that their breathing is out of control and they're very tired. And people are very tired and they're breathing through their mouth and their chest breathing and they can't dance that long.
They have horrible breathing. You can feel the mouth breathing on you. It's gross.
I guess it means that you can enjoy it more. It actually gives you energy doing it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm able to go the entire and come home and still have energy.
Our feet may not feel the same, but we have energy.
You've got the energy, but the feet have been sort of battered. So, yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah.
And Vladimir, I think, is a really good instructor. He appears to be very serious, but when he starts talking, it's actually really entertaining. And the way he describes or tells you how to do it, and then he shows you how to do it, and you're just like impressed by what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, he's a very interesting person. He's been doing this for over 40 years. Imagine what his perspective must be like, and the number of people he's worked with, and the number of diseases that he's faced. It's amazing. Whenever there's a problem, we go to him. And we're so privileged to have him.
Yeah.
Same with Christopher as well. Without Christopher, we wouldn't do this.
So I was just going to say that I think it has been really, really amazing how you guys are very interactive with all of us when we need help. Because I know I have reached out to you late and you have helped me. And I know that if we were to reach out to you, you're willing to help us. And that's something not a lot of people would do. So just being, I guess, in the community of Potatoe, I don't know if that's the thing.
Breathing is 24/7.
Yeah.
The help's needed when you have the problem. The help is needed then, because there's not, you're struggling now. So that's why we're available.
But that's something I tell everyone when I'm recommending the Vateco. It's like the one thing that it just blows my mind and I don't understand, but it's just, or I didn't understand at the time, is how helpful you guys all are, and how we have all been able to reach out to you, and it's just the availability, the willing to listen to people is amazing.
We're always trying to work out how to get somebody's CO2 level up. That's the job. I can't tell you how grateful I am. If you have some description of hell, I was in it. I wanted to get out. And it was Christopher that did it. And it wasn't easy. It was a fight. But he didn't mind about any of it. He was just there. And he confirmed always that it was okay. It was just symptoms. Just go and do some practice and I'll call you in 10 minutes. How are you? Oh, I feel better now. Happened repeatedly.
You know, Martha, I actually never told you this, but when I first did the class, the very first day I did the class, I did it because I was so desperate and I didn't know what to do anymore, and I just needed to do something. And society does not tell you, or people don't teach you, that there is a correct way of breathing. So when you hear everything you're saying, it's like, you know, something inside of you is telling you, yes, this is true. You should be aware of your breathing. But because it's not talked about, it just seems like it just shouldn't be that big of a deal.
That's right.
So when I took the first day of the class, I don't know if it was because I was messing around on YouTube previous to that and doing my own little thing, but I had a very strange cleanse to where I was really, really cold that night. And I remember waking up like at 1 or 2 in the morning, and I was so cold. And I remember thinking to myself, like freezing there, I am so crazy. Like, why did I think that taking like a breathing class was going to make me better? Because that's what people tell you. You know, they don't think the breathing is a big deal. And then I was just fighting all night with myself. Like, how am I going to get warm? And finally, I was like, okay, I'll just do a pause. So I did the pause and it went away. And then the next day, I messaged you and I told you I was really, really cold and I couldn't figure out how to get warm. But then you told me it could be like hormonal or something. But the point is that it's so strange. Every time I tell someone, I could see that they think it's strange. It's so strange what we are doing. But it really, really works. And you just have to go through it and you just have to do it. And you can't like be sprinkling around kind of doing it. You got to really do it.
Yeah,
You will see huge
if you
difference.
follow the instructions, you'll get the result.
Yeah.
You have to be desperate enough to want to change and to be better. And I think that we were all at that point where we were desperate enough that we needed a change in our lives.
You were lucky. You were lucky.
Well, I think
The thing is that something really wakes you up when you feel desperate, and you actually found it. You found what was going to turn it around. You're very lucky that you did find it. And that's what I feel. I feel very lucky that I found it because I was right at the end of the road. I wasn't sleeping. I had migraine headaches. I had terrible fatigue. I couldn't function. I couldn't eat anything I wanted to eat. Well, I had difficulty with foods. I had difficulty with allergens all around me. I couldn't go out and socialize. I always felt terrible afterwards. I couldn't talk to people. I got very upset with people very easily. It was just horrendous. I was exhausted. And yet something in me kept me strong. I did have the awareness of my breathing. I was aware of my breathing because I trained as a singer. And that's something that kept me going, was training as a singer. But then I just hit a brick wall. I just knew that I was not going to get any better unless I found the trick that was going to get me out. And I was talking about this to a friend and he says, oh yeah, I know who you need to get in touch with.
That's why I tell everyone, because they might think I'm crazy. They might not actually do it. But I'm just going to tell them, it's going to stay in the back of their mind. One day, if they really want to do it, they will do it when they're ready.
Yeah. Even though this was something that we all did together, I had to do it in my own time. It wasn't until I was actually desperate, because I had never struggled with depression prior to recently. So when I hit what I felt like was my rock bottom, that's when I was actually ready to take it seriously and make the changes and make it my own. But I do need to have a certain level of desperation.
Yeah, it just seemed to be like that. for a lot of people. It's not for all people, but yes, it does. That seems to be the case, and that's why we promote to the people who are chronically ill.
Mm-hmm.
I was interested to hear about what you said about changing the temperature of your body with maximum pause. Something else I find remarkable is when you wake up in the night, sometimes you end up with a leg cramp, probably deep breathing in the night, as you do.
Mm-hmm.
And first thing I do is just straight on it, and I go right through the cramp and out the other side, and it's gone. It's amazing.
I used to always wake up like at 2, 3 in the morning, and I had to go pee every single day. It would fail. I had to go, like I would every single day, and I started taping my mouth that night. I would sleep right through the night, and I would wake up the next day when I was deep breathing. I would have a lot of pain in my back, my lower back, where I couldn't move, and I felt a lot of pressure. And then I started taping my mouth, and I had to use the restroom in the morning, but it wasn't painful anymore, and it wasn't like I had to go. It was more like, oh, like I'll get there. But what sometimes I forget to tape my mouth, and I'm like, oh, here it goes. I'm up at 2, 3 in the morning because I'm deep breathing at night.
Well, that's what happens. It has you. You have to strategize to stop it, either by taping the mouth or waking yourself sometimes. Not every night, but maybe once or twice a week. Wake yourself and do some pauses, and just to interrupt that episode. It lasts for about 45 minutes. I've listened to it in other people in the night when they start heaving. I've never listened to myself, but I've heard it in other people. It's about 45 minutes, and it's that episode you want to get in on the beginning of it and stop it, do some pauses, and then you can go back to sleep. It doesn't happen. You can break it. But taping the mouth helps a lot.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
I would never not tape my mouth again.
I still tape my mouth.
I remember waking up and being like, okay, don't forget to tape your mouth. You know, you're falling asleep. And I woke up panicked. I was like, where's my tape?
Because you will wake up tired if you don't tape your mouth.
Right. Yeah. It's not as good.
I need my beauty sleep.
Yeah, well, it's just a fact. And because you've done the training and because you've had the education, you know what's going on. And we're very lucky because we've got Vladimir who worked with him for 25 years. And Christopher worked with Starmatsky. And that's it. That's all there is. Now, I don't know anybody else who's really teaching this in an effective way. I'd like to meet other people that are doing it.
I don't even know how I found you on on YouTube. But I'm so thankful I did, because out of all those videos, somehow I saw your video and I was like, this is where I have to go.
I knew what it was I was going to have to do because I'd read about it. I wasn't keen because I was asthmatic, and it's horrible for an asthmatic. And I'd had bronchitis and pleurisy as well when I was in my early 30s. And no, I wasn't looking forward to it at all. But the first time I practiced, brain fog lifted, and within a few days I was sleeping through the night. So there was no argument. It's like, oh, okay, well, this is the first thing I've done in 20 years that has had an effect immediately. And I tried practically everything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, we try everything out there. We try to get the solution. We pay the money. We get some benefit maybe, but nothing long term.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know why. And you've got all these people that are persuading you that it's this or that, or it's because of this or that, and you don't really know whether it's right or not. But it doesn't seem to be making much difference. You just go on and on and on, looking.
With every other approach, you're looking for something external, you're buying a product, or you're having to prepare something. But with Buteyko, the solution is actually already within you, and it depends on you and purely you. There's nothing else except you.
That's right.
So it's like instead of looking externally, you're just internal.
Yeah. It's a perfect design. It really is. And I've never seen it fail if we're able to follow the instructions.
Yeah.
It is interesting, and it also makes being you more interesting.
It's funny because like we all did it, you know, my dad, my mom, my sisters, and so we can see the changes that we have all made even before we can see them ourselves. So it's interesting because we see it, and then when we realize how much it has changed, it's really interesting at that point. We're definitely not the same people we were a year ago.
You're not so influenced by your mental programming. You're more influenced by your authentic self. You've got more contact with your authentic self. I call it the loud voice and the quiet voice. Be able to hear that quiet voice. The loud screaming survival voice is quite often not very helpful.
So thank you, Martha. Thank you to Vladimir and Christopher.
Thank you very much for doing this.
Yes.
I'd love to do it again in Spanish.
Okay. Yeah.
That'd be great, because we've got a lot of Spanish students that have got a lot of benefit as well.
We're definitely not the same people we were a year ago.